After 7 years together, my fiancé dumped me for his ex because his friend convinced him she was more marriage material. Now 5 years later he's watching me live the dream life he could have had, and he's desperately trying to win me back. 5 years ago my entire universe imploded in the most unexpected, brutal way possible. My fiancé Jake, the man I'd spent nearly a decade building a life with, suddenly decided I wasn't the right woman for his future anymore. We'd been through so much together: college, career changes, the messy ups and downs of young adulthood. I truly believed we were building our forever. Then one day he sat me down, and with a voice that still chills me, delivered the most devastating conversation of my life. "Mia, you know I love you," he started. And honestly, that should have been my first red flag, because nothing good, absolutely nothing, ever follows those words. He continued, "But I've been doing a lot of thinking lately about what I really want in life, and I'm not sure we're heading in the same direction anymore." Can you even imagine? This was after 7 years, after I'd practically put my own life on hold, working 2 jobs to support him through grad school. This was after we'd gotten engaged just 6 months prior, with a ring I'd helped him pick out, a symbol of our shared future. We'd already put a deposit down on our wedding venue, sent out save the dates to 150 of our closest friends and family. Everything was set. Our future, or what I thought was our future, was meticulously planned. But here's where the real gut punch comes in, the part that still makes my blood boil. For months, his college friends had been whispering in his ear about his ex-girlfriend from sophomore year, Christina. She had just moved back to our city after finishing medical school, and suddenly Jake's entire friend group was acting like she was some kind of mythical prize he'd foolishly let slip away. Christina was apparently everything I wasn't. She came from serious money, had just completed her residency at a prestigious hospital, drove a shiny BMW her parents bought her. According to Jake's friends, she was the quintessential woman successful men married. She was polished, sophisticated, and had never, not once, worked a retail job in her life. Meanwhile, there was me. I was a graphic designer, proud of having worked my way up from freelancing to a small agency. I was still diligently paying off my student loans, driving a reliable, used Honda Civic. I wasn't glamorous. I wasn't connected. I was just someone who loved Jake unconditionally, who believed in him, and who genuinely thought we were building something beautiful, something real together. And Jake? The absolute coward. He went along with his friend's insidious campaign entirely. He actually told me he'd realized we had different life goals, and that maybe we'd gotten engaged too young. He had the gall to say that Christina had always been the one that got away, and that seeing her again made him question everything. Looking back, it's so painfully clear now. This was his spineless way of admitting his friend group had convinced him I simply wasn't impressive enough for the kind of life he suddenly decided he wanted to live. The breakup itself was swift and brutal. Within 3 weeks, I saw Jake posting Instagram stories with Christina. Within 2 months they were Facebook official. Within 4 months, they were living together in a swanky downtown condo her parents helped them buy. I watched helpless from the sidelines as my entire future, everything we'd planned, crumbled into dust. We'd talked about marriage, obviously, since we were engaged. We'd planned to buy a house, discuss baby names, even looked at neighborhoods with good schools for our future kids. I truly believed I was just 6 months away from becoming Mrs. Jake Morrison. But the absolute worst part, the part that truly cut me to the bone, was how his friend group acted like I'd never even existed. These were people I'd spent countless weekends with, who'd been invited to our engagement party, who'd known me for years. Suddenly, I was completely erased from their social circle. His best friend Ryan, who had been planning to be our best man, blocked me on social media. His college roommate Matt, who'd actually asked me to help him propose to his own girlfriend the year before, acted like we'd never met when I ran into him at the grocery store. It was like 7 years of my life, 7 years of shared memories and experiences, had been completely deleted from their minds. I was devastated, completely, utterly broken. I spent the first 2 months basically living on takeout and wine, crying myself to sleep most nights. My sister, bless her heart, kept telling me to move back home to Portland, that staying in the same city as Jake was just torturing myself. But something stubborn, something deep inside me, refused to run away. Instead, I got angry. Really, genuinely, furiously angry. I'd always been passionate about design, but during our relationship, I played it safe with steady agency work while Jake pursued his MBA. He'd been supportive, but always a little dismissive, calling my freelance projects side gigs, and subtly suggesting I focus on climbing the corporate ladder instead. His friends had been even less encouraging, with Ryan once asking, with a condescending smirk, when I was going to get a real career like Christina's medicine. Well, guess what? That side gig became my salvation. I threw myself into freelance work with everything I had. I used every ounce of my marketing knowledge to build a personal brand, leveraging social media like my life depended on it. I started networking relentlessly with local small businesses and startups. I took on every single project I could find: logo designs, website builds, social media campaigns, full brand identity packages. I reinvested every single dollar back into better equipment, online courses, and cutting-edge design software. I worked 18-hour days learning about client relations, project management, and business development on the fly. The timing, as fate would have it, was absolutely perfect. The startup scene in our city was exploding, and I managed to catch the wave just right. Within a year, I'd gone from making a modest $40,000 at the agency to pulling in six figures as an independent contractor. By year 2, I was able to quit my day job entirely and focus on freelancing full-time. But the real game changer, the moment everything shifted, came when a tech startup I designed branding for got acquired by a major company, and they incredibly recommended me to their entire network. That single referral changed absolutely everything. Suddenly, I had more work than I could possibly handle. I had to start turning down projects and, even better, raising my rates significantly. I began hiring other freelancers to help with the overflow work. 3 years after the breakup, my side gig had blossomed into a full-service creative agency with 12 incredible employees and a gorgeous, sprawling office space downtown. We specialize in startup branding and have worked with companies that have gone on to raise millions in funding. Last year alone, we brought in over $2 million in revenue. We've been featured in prestigious design publications, won industry awards, and I've been invited to speak at conferences across the country. 6 months ago, I was named one of our city's 40 under 40 business leaders. My story has even been featured in Forbes as an example of how freelancers can scale their businesses. Oh, and remember how I mentioned building a dream life? Enter Alex. I met him about 2 years ago at a networking event for creative professionals. He's a photographer who runs his own studio, specializing in commercial and wedding photography. We bonded instantly over being entrepreneurs, over the challenges of building something from nothing, over late nights spent editing and strategizing. Alex is everything Jake never was. He genuinely celebrates my successes without feeling threatened, without any hint of insecurity. He understands the entrepreneur life because he lives it too. He treats me like an equal partner in every sense, and most importantly, he loves me for exactly who I am. Ambitious, driven, and unafraid to dream big. We moved in together 8 months ago into a beautiful loft apartment downtown, and I've honestly never been happier. Alex proposed 3 months ago during a weekend trip to the mountains, with a ring he saved up for himself because he wanted it to be entirely his choice, his effort. The proposal was perfect. Intimate, personal, and everything I'd ever truly wanted. Just the two of us at sunset on a hiking trail we discovered together. No pressure from friends or social expectations. Just two people choosing each other completely. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. About 18 months ago, Jake started following my business Instagram account, then my personal account. Then he started showing up at networking events where he knew I'd be present. At first, I tried to convince myself it was just coincidence, but the pattern became pretty obvious pretty quickly. His marriage to Christina, from what I can gather through mutual connections and some light social media investigation, is not going well at all. Turns out, marrying someone because they look impressive on paper doesn't exactly guarantee happiness. Who could have seen that coming? Christina, for all her accomplishments, apparently has very specific ideas about the lifestyle she deserves. She expected Jake to provide the kind of luxury she grew up with, while she focused on her medical career and maintaining their perfect social image. Problem is, Jake's career in marketing, while decent, doesn't generate the kind of money needed to support the lavish lifestyle Christina's family modeled. They've been fighting constantly about money, about his career ambitions, about their social life. From what I've heard through our city's surprisingly small professional network, Christina has been pushing Jake to pivot into pharmaceutical sales because the money is better. But Jake has been resistant because he actually enjoys his current job. Meanwhile, here I am, absolutely thriving in every possible way. My business success has been very public: interviews, awards, a strong social media presence. I'm not showing off maliciously, but I'm also not hiding my achievements. Why should I? A few months ago, Jake started getting more direct. He began commenting on my business posts, liking old personal photos, sending DMs that started as, "Congratulations on your success," and gradually became more personal. I mostly ignored them, but Alex and I would just laugh about how transparent he was being. Then, 2 months ago, things escalated dramatically. Jake showed up at my office building and somehow talked his way past security. When my assistant told me someone was there to see me, I assumed it was a potential client or vendor. When I walked into our gorgeous reception area and saw him standing there, I was genuinely shocked. He looked terrible. Stressed, tired, like he'd aged 10 years in the past 5. His usually perfect hair was messy, his clothes were wrinkled, and he had dark circles under his eyes. "Mia, we need to talk," he said, his voice shaking slightly. I was professional but cold. "If this is business related, you can schedule an appointment through our website. If it's personal, I don't think we have anything to discuss," he pleaded. "Please just give me 15 minutes. I'll buy you coffee." Against my better judgment, and probably out of morbid curiosity, I agreed. We went to a neutral coffee shop down the street, and that's when he completely lost it. He told me that leaving me was the biggest mistake of his life, that he never stopped loving me, that marrying Christina was a huge error in judgment, and that he'd been miserable for years. He said he'd been following my success and was so proud of what I'd accomplished, and seeing how happy I looked in my photos was destroying him. "I should have fought for us," he said, getting emotional. "I should have told my friends to back off. You were always the one, Mia. You still are." I sat there completely stunned. Part of me, a very small petty part, felt incredibly vindicated. The girl who wasn't marriage material had built something incredible, while his perfect wife was making him miserable. But mostly I just felt a profound sadness for him. "Jake," I said quietly, my voice steady. "You made your choice. You chose your friend's approval over our relationship. You chose someone you barely knew over someone who loved you unconditionally. And now you want to undo that because it didn't work out the way you planned." He started crying. Actually crying. Right there in the middle of a busy coffee shop. "I know I messed up," he choked out. "I know I don't deserve another chance. But we were so good together, Mia. We could be good again." "We were good together," I agreed, emphasizing the past tense. "But that person, the Mia who would have done anything for you, who would have forgiven you anything, she doesn't exist anymore. You made sure of that when you walked away." I then told him about Alex, about how genuinely happy I was, about how I built a life I loved without him. I watched his face crumble as I described what real partnership looked like, what it felt like to be with someone who chose me every single day. That's when he got desperate. "He doesn't know you like I do," Jake argued, his voice cracking. "We have history. We have shared experiences. What we had was special. What we had was real," I said again, past tense. "What I have now is also real, and it's better. Because it's built on respect and genuine partnership, not convenience and comfort." He left that conversation completely devastated, but I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. Over the past 2 months, Jake has been on an all-out campaign to win me back. He sent flowers to my office. I donated them to a local women's shelter. He's written long, rambling emails about how sorry he is and how he wants to make things right. I've set up a filter that sends them straight to spam. He's even reached out to my college friends, asking them to put in a good word for him. Most of them have told him, politely but firmly, to leave me alone, but a few have mentioned his messages to me with concern. The most ridiculous incident, the one that truly solidified everything, happened 3 weeks ago. Alex and I were having dinner at a trendy restaurant downtown, when Jake appeared at our table out of nowhere. "Mia, I need to talk to you," he said, completely ignoring Alex's presence. Alex, bless him, stayed calm but firm. "I think you need to leave," he said politely. "This doesn't concern you." Jake snapped, which was exactly the wrong thing to say. I stood up immediately. "Actually, it absolutely concerns him. Alex is my fiancé, and you're disrupting our dinner. You need to leave now." Jake looked back and forth between us, and I could see him noticing the engagement ring on my finger for the very first time. His face went completely white. "You're engaged," he whispered. "Yes," I said, my voice clear and strong. "And we're very happy. Please respect that and leave us alone." He stood there for another moment, looking completely lost, before the restaurant manager, who had clearly been observing the scene, came over and escorted him out. Alex handled the whole situation with incredible grace, but I could tell he was bothered by Jake's behavior. That night, we had a long, important conversation about boundaries and next steps. Alex has been incredibly supportive through all of this. He's never once asked me to stop talking about Jake, or made me feel like my past was a threat to our future. The final straw, the absolute last drop, came last week. Jake called my business line during office hours and somehow got transferred directly to me. He was clearly intoxicated, rambling about how his marriage was falling apart and how Christina had given him an ultimatum about his career. "I see your face everywhere," he slurred. "In magazines, online, at events. You're so successful, so beautiful, so perfect. I threw away perfection for what? For someone who doesn't even understand me. Jake, you need to stop this," I said firmly. You need to get help, and you need to leave me alone. I'm going to hang up now, and if you contact me again, I'll be forced to take legal action. Legal action? He laughed bitterly. Against what? Loving you? Wanting you back? Against harassment, I said, my voice cutting through his slurred words. This stops now. I hung up and immediately called my lawyer. We're now documenting everything in case we need to pursue a restraining order. But here's the thing that really truly gets me. His friends have now started reaching out. Ryan called me last week, all friendly and casual, asking how I was doing and mentioning how proud he was of my success. He casually brought up how Jake and Christina were going through a rough patch, and how Jake had been talking about me a lot lately. Matt sent me a LinkedIn message saying he'd always respected my work ethic, and wondered if we could grab coffee to discuss some business opportunities. He also conveniently mentioned that Jake was really struggling, and maybe could use a friend right now. Even their mutual friend Sarah, who'd completely iced me out after the breakup, sent me a Facebook message saying she missed our friendship, and hoped we could reconnect. She also, of course, happened to mention that Jake's marriage was in trouble, and that he'd been asking about me. The audacity is absolutely breathtaking. These people actively worked to end my relationship with Jake, treated me like I wasn't good enough for their friend group, and now they want back in my life because I'm successful and their golden boy is miserable? I've ignored or politely declined all of their overtures. I'm not interested in being anyone's backup plan or consolation prize. Alex has been incredibly supportive through all of this. He's never once made me feel like my past was interfering with our future. He just listens when I need to vent and reminds me of how far I've come. You know what the best revenge is? He said to me the other night as we were planning our wedding. It's not that Jake is miserable in his marriage. It's that you're genuinely happy in yours. You didn't build this life despite him. You built it because you're amazing. His regret is just a side effect. And he's absolutely right. My success isn't about Jake. My happiness isn't about Jake. The fact that both things are driving him crazy is just a bonus. I've learned so much about myself over these past 5 years. I learned that I'm stronger than I thought, more capable than I ever believed, and worthy of love that doesn't come with conditions or caveats. I learned that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you can redirect you toward the best thing that happens to you. I also learned that you simply can't build a relationship on other people's expectations. Jake and Christina's marriage was doomed from the start because it was based on what looked good, rather than what felt right. They're both trying to be people they're not, living up to standards that have nothing to do with their actual compatibility. Meanwhile, Alex and I are planning a wedding that's completely us, small, intimate, focused on celebrating our partnership rather than impressing anyone else. We're building a life based on shared values, mutual respect, and genuine love. It's everything I thought I had with Jake, but real this time. I don't hate Jake. Honestly, I actually feel sorry for him. He's trapped in a life he chose for all the wrong reasons, and now he's realizing what he gave up. But that's not my problem to solve anymore. The funniest part? Christina apparently found out about Jake's attempts to contact me and is furious. According to mutual connections, she's now convinced that Jake never got over me and is threatening to leave him if he doesn't get his act together. The irony, my friends, is absolutely delicious. She's basically in the same position I was in, except she's the one he chose. Jake has been radio silent for the past week, presumably dealing with the fallout at home. Part of me wonders if Christina will follow through on her threats, or if they'll find a way to make their marriage work. Honestly, I hope they do figure it out, because everyone deserves to be happy, just not at my expense. As for me, I'm focused on the future. Alex and I are getting married in 4 months. My business is expanding to 2 new cities. I'm even working on a book about building a creative business from scratch. Life is good. Really genuinely good in a way it never was with Jake. The girl who wasn't marriage material is now too good for him, and the best part? I didn't change to prove him wrong. I changed because I finally had the space and the motivation to become who I was always meant to be. Sometimes the trash really does take itself out. Thanks for all the supportive comments, everyone. A few people asked about the business, and while I can't share specifics for privacy reasons, I will say that following your passion, even when others dismiss it, can lead to incredible opportunities. Don't let anyone make you feel small for dreaming big. Also, for those asking about Jake's current situation, I honestly don't know and don't want to know. I've blocked him on everything and asked our mutual friends not to update me on his life. I'm done being a character in his story, and he's done being a character in mine. Alex says hi and wants you all to know that he feels like the luckiest guy in the world. We're planning a honeymoon in Italy, where we'll be photographing some beautiful venues for his portfolio, while I research European design trends for potential international clients. Here's to new beginnings, and never settling for less than you deserve.